Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we'll always be coping with something. Coping.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we will always be coping with something. And for the next 2 days and for the rest of the next 5 or 6 days, we'll be coping with the upcoming election. Historian James Felder joins us with an overview of what races we need to be aware of locally and nationally. He's right there. Also, Deyaska Spencer, chair with the Richland County Democratic Party, also shares info on some upcoming local races. Thank you, Dee, so much for joining us. And one of the many candidates, Tamika Washington, who is running for Richland 1 School Board, also shares her vision. All of that and so much more coming up next on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. But first, your community updates. The next Powerball jackpot is very close to breaking records, with no winner for yesterday's $1.2 billion drawing. The estimated jackpot for Saturday is now $1.5 billion. Now, despite no grand prize winner, there are still multiple million-dollar winners, and that ain't bad either, in 12 states, matching all 5 numbers, but not the red Powerball. Exoplexis plans to invest $89 million to bring a solar farm to Newberry County. The project is slated to launch online in 2025, with plans for solar operations in the works for Barnwell County, South Carolina, and Stanley County, North Carolina. For info on jobs, visit Exoplexis website. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show, you will see all types of information, including where you can find times, dates, and locations for COVID testing and flu shots. You can visit scdhec.gov. The 5 free rapid self-COVID tests by logging on to covidtest.gov. Also, COVID vaccines for vets at the VA. Also, the various retail outlets that offer COVID vaccinations, which includes Kroger, Walgreens, and also CVS. That includes the CVSs located in Target stores. Also, don't miss your shot. You can get a free ride to get your vaccine on the Comet, and also at the Comet, you can also go to the main location on Sumter and Laurel Streets and get a free COVID vaccination. Now, if you or someone you know is having some challenges with technology, they can visit Get Set Up to get set up with their COVID vaccine. Also, we have such a lot of financial resources that will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. That includes FEMA's COVID funeral reimbursement program. If you lost someone due to COVID, you can get their funeral expenses reimbursed. SC Bar Association and SC Legal Services have a toll-free number and website for rental and mortgage help. Lexington County has a bill assistance program. SC Housing and Dominion Energy have a rental and utility assistance program. And if you or someone you know is having a challenge coping, South Carolina Department of Mental Health has a 24-hour assistance line called SC Hope. Also, don't forget that student loan forgiveness is up and running. You can visit that website, and takes about 5 minutes, and you'll get some information from your student loan to give you information about how you can get your student loan debt canceled. All of that and so much more information will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. You are watching Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we will always be coping with something. We are streaming live on the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. That's the home of Coping with Tre Tailor. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow, and find out when we go live Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, and then, of course, on Thursday and Friday. We're also streaming live on the YouTube channel. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. There you can find 3 years of interviews, information, and resources to help you cope. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Today, we are coping with the election. Tuesday is election day, and with voters already ignited, thousands have taken advantage of early voting, because some of the elections happening next week will impact each of us, even if they're not taking place in South Carolina. Historian James Felder joins us to give us an overview of what national elections we need to be aware of. Mr. Felder, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing good, Tre, and thank you so much for having me on, and particularly for having this segment on about voting.
Yes, sir. Look, I'm preaching to the choir when I say it's so very important.
It is very important. It's what a lot of people call off-year election, because the president's not on the
Right.
ballot. But this election really is more important than the presidential election because it focuses in on our local situation. We are
Right.
electing everybody from governor through the attorney general, through agriculture commission, secretary of state. So those are all important elections. Plus, we're electing all of the 7 congresspersons from South Carolina as well. So this is a very important election because these are the people who set your tax rates and who decide who gets what from the legislature. So it's a very, very important. But I'm very pleased to report that so far we've had almost 500,000 people have registered already through the early voting process as
Yeah.
of today, 500,000.
Yeah.
And that's a good sign of participation. Registering to vote is not a problem anymore. Turnout is the problem. Still trying to get us to turn out. While we've got 1 million plus African Americans registered to vote, we're only turning out 50%, 56% on election day. Now, that's true in the white community also. Their turnout is as low. But we got to do better than that if we are going to preserve this democracy that we think is the best form of government around the world. So, Trey, to simplify it, we need to vote. And now you can do it early. There are 5 locations in Richland County where you can go out and cast your ballot. I've been traveling, visiting those areas, and the lines are not long. They're steady, but they're moving. It's not on election day when you got people waiting 2 and 3 and 4 hours to try to get into the polls. So I urge our listeners, your listeners and the viewers to get out early, take advantage of it.
All right. All right. So early voting is going on, and it is also on Saturday, as the graphic we just saw said.
That's
and people
correct.
they can go on and go ahead and vote.
Now, what I urge people to do is to get your sample ballot. Go online, scvotes.gov, and pull off your sample ballot. That will tell you the people that you can vote for, not the people on the other side of the street, because sometimes the precinct line runs right down the street, middle of the street.
Right.
So people
right.
on each side, they're not voting in the same precinct. Now, for the early voting, it doesn't matter where you live. You can go to 5 locations in Richland County to take advantage of that. 2020 Hampton Street, which is the voter registration office, Ballantyne. You can go to Hopkins Park. You can go to Parkland Adult Center. And you can go to the Institute of Innovation on Fashion Drive. So you have 5 options, and regardless of where you live in Richland County, you can go to any of those 5 places and cast your ballot early, right up through Saturday. So you got Thursday, you got Friday, Saturday, you got 3 more days to do it.
Let me ask you something right quick, Mr. Felder. Like on election day, you don't have to vote. You don't have to do early voting in your district, do you?
No. Early voting ends this Saturday.
But you can do it anywhere. Yeah, like I live near
anywhere.
5
That's
points.
the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
You live near 5 points. All right. So the closest place to you is 2020 Hampton Street.
2020 Hampton.
You live in the 5 points. Yeah. So that's close. What, 5-10 blocks at the most? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Less.
So you can go to any location during the early voting thing. But after Saturday, then you must go to your precinct polling place to vote.
Right. That's the point I wanted to make, that on voting day, on election day, you've got to go to your precinct. But if you're like me, you live someplace else, but you happen to be at Sand Hills, you can go ahead and vote at Sand Hills on Saturday or Friday if you happen to be there shopping.
Absolutely correct. Last Monday, when the early voting occurred, I was headed to Sumter. And then I remember that Hopkins Park, there was a voting location. So I swung off the road, even though I live downtown Columbia. Mm-hmm. I swung through Hopkins Park, cast my ballot, was out of there in 15 minutes and gone. See? So up through Saturday, any of the 5 locations, you may cast your ballot. But on election day, you got to go to your precinct.
Right. We want to bring in Deyaska Spencer right quick. Deyaska is a local attorney and chair of the Richland County Democratic Party. Dee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Trey. I appreciate you dedicating your show to this very important election that's coming up here in just 5 days.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to get you in here to talk with Mr. Felder because there are, as Mr. Felder said, there are so many great races, important races that are coming up. Are there a couple we need to really be conscientious about and hone in on?
Great question. Yes. So Richland County has a unique opportunity this particular election year to flip 2 seats. House District 75, right in the heart of Columbia, the Rosewood Shandon corridor, has been represented by Kirkman Finley now for many, many years. And we have an opportunity this year with your votes, Richland County, to take that seat from Finley, and it can become a Democratic stronghold. Heather Bauer is running against Kirkman Finley, and she needs our support. So if you're one of my Blue Devil friends or extended family members, I ask that you all vote and support Heather. We're also looking at the county council district race with Brian Burrows. He is running this year. That particular seat had long been held by a Republican, and Brian will do well to help us focus on environmental issues affecting Richland County, and I think he would bring a wealth of information to the council. So we're hoping to take away 75 from Finley and County Council 6. We're hoping to add that to our Democratic seats on the council.
Mr. Felder, are there any other races in addition to the two that Dee mentioned that we really need to be conscientious about? Maybe the governor's race?
We need to be conscientious about the governor's race. I have a problem with the governor. He would not Medicaid money come in. As a result of that, you still have so many people without Medicaid, in particular out in the rural areas. It started with Nikki Haley. She had an opportunity to do it, but she didn't do it. Then she passed it off to McMaster. He did not do it either. But yet 5 hospitals have closed in rural areas, and these people now must travel 40, 45 miles to get service. And that's just not right. When the money is sitting there in Washington, earmarked for South Carolina, and the governor wouldn't let it come in. So that's an important race. The school board races are important also. Now, remember, after you finish voting for the government, for the constitutional offices and congressional offices, the school board races are at the bottom of the ballot because they're nonpartisan races, so you don't have to make a decision on whether it's Democrat or Republican. No, school board races are nonpartisan. So please scroll down, vote in the school board races as well. Okay. They're very important. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any like questions, referendums, or anything on the ballot this time, Dee?
There are 2 amendments to the Constitution. Now, what these amendments are all about, increasing the rainy day fund, as they call it. That is to provide a set-aside fund so that if something happens and the state needs money, rather than imposing a special taxes, they could go to that rainy day fund, which is in effect your savings account, is what it amounts to. So I don't have a problem with it. That way we can be sure that there are going to be monies to face any kind of disasters we might run up against here in the state. So there are 2 questions, and I urge people vote yes on both of them. And that will simply allow the legislature to increase the amount of money they can put into those 2 funds. That's what those are all about.
And Mr. Felder is absolutely right. We saw a pandemic happen in 2020, and that was one of those times where Richland County community members didn't have money to cover their rent. They didn't have money to pay their electric bill, their water bill. And I do believe that supporting those 2 ballot amendments will help the state be ready to assist people without waiting on the federal government.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What does the Richland County Democratic Party need, Dee, as far as volunteers? Are there ways that people can volunteer and help in the voting process next week?
Absolutely, Trey. So we're continuing to recruit poll watchers. We're really excited about the number of individuals who have early voted. As it stands right now, Richland County is running 4th in the state. 30,827 Richland County residents have voted early. I will caution you against that number, though, because although we're running 4th in the state, we have 271,000 registered voters in this county. So I'd like to see those numbers increase. And if we can, I'd like to see us take first place. I'd like for Richland County, this Democratic stronghold, to take first place in those early vote totals. That will require us making sure that we get out to the polls on Friday and Saturday in the balance of today. I think there's a lot that we need to consider in this election, Trey. One of the things that I really want folks watching this show to understand is that this election is about freedom. It's about who gets to decide, the woman or the legislature. And if we believe that women are astute enough to make decisions about their own bodies, and I know we are, I think we need to support candidates who support that. And we don't need another master. We need a cunning man or woman. We need a better governor. And I'm gonna cast my ballot for Joe Cunningham and Tally Casey.
Awesome. People, tell us what people need to bring and what is not allowed, because I know that was a big thing during the last election. You can't give out food. You can't have. Listen, I'll just be honest with you. After all of that Halloween candy, I usually take the kids down to the polls and give away.
Can't do that anymore. There have been changes. So you have to bring your driver's license to vote. So bring your driver's license. They're asking that you leave your cell phones in the car. They've changed the law in that folks who want to greet voters as they come in can no longer stand at the door. They have to be 500 feet away from the entrance to the polls, whereas before it was 100 feet away. So there are changes that are happening. We encourage you to take your driver's license. If there's an issue, Richland County, we continue to recruit poll watchers. So if you're interested in supporting the county and making sure that nothing happens at your local precinct, then become a poll watcher. But based on these early voting numbers that have occurred without incident, we don't foresee there being any issues in Richland County where there might be issues in smaller counties.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Felder, before we wrap the segment?
Yes. Do not leave the polling place until you vote. If you run into a problem, you might have left your driver's license at home or what have you. Vote a provisional ballot, but do not leave that place until you vote. They have to allow you to do that. And you can make whatever corrections down the road, but just don't leave. Because some people will get upset. They may go home and won't go back because they're angry at somebody, but do not leave the polls until you vote. And they must allow you to vote if it has to be a provisional ballot. Now, the other thing is we encourage people to get your picture on your voter registration card. All you have to do is stop at 2020 Hampton Street any day, Monday through Friday, and they will take your picture and put it on your voter registration card, and now you are good forever. Because once you register in South Carolina, it's a permanent registration. So you need to do that at some point as well.
So are you saying if you have your picture on your voter registration card, then you don't need your license?
You don't need the license, no.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That eliminates that. Okay. That is the number one ID card for voting, is your voter registration card with your picture on it. Yeah.
All right. So after Tuesday, because you can't do it now,
it's kind of too late to do it now. Some places,
it's too late to do it now. But in the future, make sure you get your picture on your voter registration card. But until then, as Mr. Felder and Deyaska said, make sure that you have your driver's license. And if for some reason you're unable to vote or you can't stay in line or you don't have your driver's license, you can vote. You can cast a provisional ballot. Whatever you do, please vote. You've got early voting through Saturday at 5 locations in and around Richland County. And then, of course, Election Day is this Tuesday, next Tuesday. Deyaska Spencer, who is an attorney and chair of the Richland County Democratic Party, and a historian and civil rights icon, Jim Felder. Thank you both so much for joining us today on Coping. I appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you both.
Thank you. Continue the good work.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Hey, coming up next, one of the candidates for Richland 2 School Board. Mr. Felder told you all the way at the bottom, the nonpartisan vote is school board. Richland 2 School Board candidate Tamika Washington joins us next on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We'll be right back.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821. When
it comes to you, I have all anything, money, finances, access to. That you will save your money, James Tax Service. Only tax drive-through, James Tax Service. Look up, to you, James Tax Service. Handling your money out of bounds, James Tax Service. Now you know what to do.
Visit Davis Tax Service today, 803-419-1001.
Thank you so much for joining us for Coping with Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we are always coping with something. Hey, don't forget, we are streaming live on the TailorMade production page on Facebook. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow, and get notifications as to when we go live on Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, and then, of course, on Thursday and Friday. We're also streaming live on our YouTube channel. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button, and we also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Today, we are coping with the upcoming election. And if you missed the great information that was shared on the last segment, please hit rewind and check out historian James Felder and Deyaska Spencer. One of the most talked about races is the Richland 2 School Board race. Tamika Shuler, Washington, is one of those candidates. The Columbia, South Carolina native is a BC grad and former classroom teacher, district leader, and author who owns the Converse Space in Northeast Richland County, where they serve businesses, organizations, and entrepreneurs as they start and grow. Tamika, thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Tre. This is a powerful race, and I'm so glad that James Felder said exactly what he said. We got to pay attention to our school board race as well.
Oh, yeah. You know, I have to tell you, this Richland 2 school board has been in the news a lot, very controversial, very volatile. Let me ask you, what do you think the problems are? And what do you think needs to happen to mend it?
One of the things I would like to say in terms of the problems that we currently see is there is civility that needs to be restored to our school board. Because the board is divided on a lot of topics that are important to parents in the community, things such as parents' rights, parents having access to information, the community understanding, the 2018 bond referendum and how that money is going to be spent. Safety, that is something that Richland 2 has been in the news lately about, is the safety of our students. And so a lot of times what we're seeing is a divided board. And I often say, when you think in the Bible, it says a house divided can't stand. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of division in terms of personality clashes, a lot of conflict that comes out into the public. And what people are saying as I'm talking to voters, as I'm talking to people in the community, they're saying we just want to have hope in the district that we pay our taxes, that our children attend these schools. We want that premier mindset to actually be reflected in everything that is happening, not just the academics, but in how our board governs and how our district is represented.
Right. How and why did you decide you wanted to run?
So for me, I grew up in Richland too. I graduated from Richland Northeast, grew up in Blythewood. Our family then moved over to the Northeast area. And over the past year after COVID, just kind of watching how, we began to roll back into what we call normalcy, which still isn't normal for us.
Right.
And so seeing so much of the division, as a former educator, education is important to me. And so I want to restore the public's trust in our board's ability to make sound decisions for the entire district. I'm a business taxpayer, and a lot of times I'm having to educate our businesses. They don't realize that if they look at their tax bill, a major portion of that tax goes to the school district. And so we want to make sure that not only are we seeing the professionalism across the board, but that we're also seeing how we're going to be accountable for when we're spending our money on different capital projects, different things such as safety, improvements in our school, and just a variety of other things. So for me, it's really to restore our public's trust so that they know that we have the community's best interest in mind and ultimately our students' best interest in mind.
Tamika Washington is a candidate for Richland 2 School Board. The Columbia, South Carolina native is a local businesswoman. What are the skills and areas of expertise you bring to the board, Tamika?
So, as a business owner, we are constantly looking at ways that we can develop partnerships. So being able to reach out to our county leaders, our businesses in the community, being able to collaborate across the board, collaboration is definitely going to be key. And then you got to have a vision. You got to be a visionary as a board leader so that you're not able only to cast vision, but you're able to actually put in strategic plans and execute the vision. And then also making sure that we're fiscally responsible. We've got to look at different ways that we're spending our money. Shortages is a major topic right now. And it's been a topic for many, many years. And so we want to be able to look at budgets and look at ways that we can maximize a variety of opportunities when it comes to our financial budget, just to make sure that we're supporting our teachers across the board and keeping them in the classrooms.
Wow. What do you propose to make R2 better for students and staff?
So I propose that we focus on our teacher shortages and making our culture, because culture is one of the goals for the district this year. And that's so important. And I was so happy to see that as a focus, because if we don't have a thriving culture, we're not able to retain or recruit teachers. So I propose that we look at how we're spending our money and put our dollars where it's going to matter. We're getting ready to have a mass exodus of teachers that are close to retirement. Because, there is no incentive for them to stay in the classroom because their money stops at a certain mark, right? And so how are we going to retain them and keep them, or make sure that they don't go to other districts where they get paid more money and they go into retirement from that district? So I want to make sure that we're putting our money where it matters with teachers. Also with safety, we have a safety plan in place. And it's a lot of great action steps. But one of the things that I propose is that we begin to look at how can we bring our sheriff's department, our local police, law enforcement to the table to help us create a sustainable safety plan. They're the experts. And so we want to make sure that they're sitting at the table with us to say, hey, no, this isn't going to work. You should put more money into this. We talk about SROs, we're short. Police officers, they're short. We need to be championing behind like Sheriff Leon Lott and saying, hey, they need more money, County Council, to be able to do some of these things, because it's not just safety for the school. If I can be honest, it's safety for the Richland 2 community. Yeah. I know you pay attention to the news. The violence is increasing in our community. And so we want to make sure that we're having those conversations. So I'm proposing that we bring the right people to the table, that we look at how we're spending our money to support teachers, and that also we begin to look at where do we need to prioritize instruction for students that are falling short in literacy and some of those basic skills, and they're not able to move to that next level in order to be successful in their future.
Election day is Tuesday. Early voting is going on now through Saturday, and Tamika Washington is one of the candidates that is on the ballot for Richland District 2 School Board. Tamika, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your interest and activism and motivation for wanting to run and to help our students and also our community. Good luck to you, beautiful, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Trey. Have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to put this in the forefront.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us today on Coping. All right. So listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope, please email booking@copingwithtreatailor.com. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreatailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with Tre Tailor. Our other sponsors include the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson, Javis Tax Services, Palmetto Media Connections, also Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, the Comet Bus System, Black Pages, Black Expo, and Agape Counseling and Training Services. As always, we leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Today, it says, "Grow strong in the light of my presence. Your weakness does not repel me. On the contrary, it attracts my power, which is always available to flow into your heart if you yield into it. Don't condemn yourself for your constant need of help. Instead, come to me with your gaping neediness. Let the light of my love fill you. A yielded heart doesn't whine or rebel when the going gets tough. It musters the courage to thank me even during hard times." Amen. Yielding yourself to my will is ultimately an act of trust. In quietness and trust is your strength. Hey, tomorrow we've got more election conversation. Hamilton Grant, who is running for Richland 1 School Board, and Richard E. Moore, PhD, he's also running, and also Dolores Powell, who is a poll coordinator for the Richland County Democratic Party. All of them will join us as we continue to talk about the upcoming elections. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you all so much for joining us again for Coping with Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care. God bless. Stay well. Don't forget to post this information out, because this was so much great information about election. And if you're going to be out and about, COVID's still real, y'all, and other respiratory diseases. So please wear your mask, but you got to wear it over your nose and under your chin. I'll see you tomorrow.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive, ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do, 6 ways to a better you.